Good morning, everybody. Hang on, okay. Good morning, everybody. Hopefully we are live. I'm happy you're here. I just need to finish this one little thing so I don't forget what I'm doing. Working on the gnome again. This, I hope, is the last day on the gnome, and then it will be finished. Okay. Hope you're all doing well. It is Wednesday, the 22nd of March, 2023. It is actually probably almost exactly, I can't remember the date. I started Change the Shed, but I bet it's almost exactly 3 years ago now. So, welcome. Those of you who have watched every single episode, you should get a special prize. It's been a lot of episodes, probably 110 or something. So welcome from all over San Diego, Washington, Vermont, Nevada, New York. Yeah, it's that spring thing where it's all freezing and thawing and snowing. It's snowing here today. Excuse me. Vancouver and Scotland. Welcome, Linda and Jean from Texas and Kansas City, Maryland, North Carolina, Texas, Massachusetts, Wyoming, St. Louis, dreary St. Louis. It's kind of dreary here today too. Yeah, it looks like maybe I should just say that out loud, Jessica. Jessica has reminded me I will do a blog post about this week. But those of you who have used Jim Hokett's looms for years, I've used them for a long time. I first found Jim Hokett at a conference. He has had amazing conference booths. If you were at conferences 10 years or more ago and you went to the vendor hall, he had booths that were just stacked with tools, all wooden weaving tools, beautiful, beautiful little works of art in themselves. And I used Hokett's looms for a long time. I still use them, but he retired several years ago, I think maybe 2019. Anyway, Jim passed away the week before last. So unfortunately, maybe fortunately quickly, but we have lost a great loom maker. So I'll have a blog post about that this week. But yeah, Jessica was reminding me that I did that little vulture piece on Change the Shed, which was a gift for James Hokett. He liked buzzards. That he collected images of buzzards. So yeah, Jim was quite the wonderful maker. And I had the privilege of spending a little bit of time with him. I got to visit his studio and see his workshop. Oh my gosh, amazing. And his wife, Kat Bryce. Her weaving workshop was fantastic, just amazing place. And anyway, Jim was a great guy, and I bought and was given many of his looms and other woodworking things, which I'll put in the blog. So anyway, yeah, thanks for reminding me about that, Jessica. Good morning to Anna from the UK and Sarah from Idaho and Marion, Maryland. Barbara says she's watched all the episodes of Change the Shed during lockdown, so you get a prize, Barbara. Nicely done. Some other views have also said, Rendon, welcome. You've watched all the recordings. Welcome to your first live then. There is something different about being on live. Yeah, some of you are saying that you're weaving on Hokett looms, and yeah, First Portable small looms. They're really nice, small, portable wooden looms. He used beautiful woods and things. So I left that little thing right there just to remind you, if you do not subscribe to my newsletter, it's called Tapestry Picks, and you can go to my contact page on my website, which also says Let's Talk. If you go to my website, which is tapestryweaving.com, and it says Let's Talk in the top right corner, it's probably the bottom of the menu. Sign up for Tapestry Picks. You'll see a list of blog posts, and this week I'll be talking about Jim Hockett and little looms and those sorts of things. So you don't, and I also put things in there like if I happen to have an opening in a Taos retreat or something, the only way you're going to find out about that is by going to Tapestry Picks, by watching the newsletter. So I recommend you sign up. All right. Yeah, I'll be back in a couple weeks. I didn't look up the date, but early April. And I'll be working on something different in April. This little gnome tapestry is it's making me laugh because I've struggled a lot with it. So let's see if we can make the hat come out and then be done with it and move on to something else. For those of you who are new to Change the Shed, some days are like this. I just pick something that is in progress and show you what I'm doing with it. And other times I actually have a plan. So this is one of the days where I don't have a whole lot of a plan. So we're just going to weave. Hopefully you all are also doing some weaving, either while you're watching or otherwise. Here's the little thing. If you haven't seen this before, this is what I was attempting to weave, and I've talked in other episodes about how it's too complicated for this set, which is 8 ends per inch. But we're pressing on because sometimes you learn a lot from things that might be characterized as mistakes. This is a fringeless for salvage warp, which means the piece will be right here and the end of it will be here, and when I take it off it won't have any like this, it won't have any fringe or hems or anything. It'll be all done. I taught a class with Sarah Sweat. Actually, Sarah teaches the class, but if you want to learn how to do this, it's called Fringeless. I recommend it. It's a lot of fun. Okay, so I've changed the colors, you might notice. Last week I had a teal in here, a really bright ocean, I think. This is Array tapestry yarn, and I think I had ocean in there, and it was just, the value was too close to the background, so I changed it to this color, which is Burgundy 4. And I actually wish I had the Burgundy 5, the lightest of the burgundies. I think that would have been the best choice, but I don't have that color, so I'm trying to make this hat with little sort of stripes, but not all the same width, so sort of varying what's going on there. And I don't have a cartoon for the stripes, so just making it up. All right. Sorry about that. Of course, my microphone is right on the table, so that probably sounded pretty loud. Oh, there's the needle I was looking for this morning. Funny. I am, doing these stripes over and over again, so I'm using sort of jump overs. Here, I'll turn this over so you can see. I want this. Looks like I have a couple of these. I need the black. I guess it's this one. The advantage of a pipe loom like this, one of the advantages, besides that you can do fringeless on it, is that you can turn it over and see the other side. I'm going to put this here, maybe here. I'm making these little outlines not quite all the way across. And I'm also fudging. Let's see. Let's do this. I'm fudging because I'm doing a full sequence just between the two, the other sequences. I'm not filling in, I'm not doing a sequence of purple right here. I'm just leaving it because this is very thin and it will be fine. Okay, and then I'm going to go back to that pink color. So Jennifer asked any more information on the Summer of Tapestry 2. So the next season of Summer of Tapestry, which is a class I started last summer, will happen this summer, starting the Saturday before Memorial Day. The first week is just to look at the materials and stuff like that. So if you're going on vacation for Memorial Day, which is a 3-day weekend in the United States at the end of May, don't worry, you won't be behind. The prompts don't start until June. So we'll have 4 prompts in June of, much like I did last year, where we're doing sort of reflexive tapestries that are about something that you're experiencing in your life or in the world or whatever. And I give you prompts that help you focus your design on something simple to weave. So it was a lot of fun last year. It's one of my favorite classes, and I'll be doing it again this year. There's more on the website. Jennifer dates registration opens in April sometime. And that date is actually on the website under online learning if you just look for Summer of Tapestry. Okay. Deb, it's not fudging, it's creative problem solving. I like that. I'm not fudging, it's creative problem solving. All right. I think I'm just going to step this over. I was doing a little bit of splitting. One of the things you can do with the fringeless for selvage is actually split the warps if you want more detail, like I did right there. But I don't think I'm going to do that on this step. Let's just step it right over and see what happens. You can see the dots I have on the warp. I'm sort of following those for this little hat. Yes, McKenna mentioned that she's excited that Sarah's back. She's talking about Sarah Sweat. Hi, Sarah. I did see you pop in. And you guys should check out her new newsletter. It's called The Gusset, and it's on Substack. And if you go to Sarah's website, you will find it. It's at afieldguidetoneedlework.com, or just Google Sarah Sweat, SWETT. If you put the word tapestry in there, you will not fail at finding it. Okay, what shape do I want here? I don't know. I'm gonna build this up a little and then maybe put one more sequence over here. At some point, having 2 wefts going is a real pain. Okay. Yeah. Seems all right. I'm laughing at Sarah. Sarah came by to visit this morning, and she says thanks for mentioning the gusset. Kate, this is a great question. How different will this new version of Summer of Tapestry be from the last summer? It's a completely different class. So I don't want to rename it every year. I might say it's Summer of Tapestry Season 2. It will be a completely new class. There will be nothing that is the same as the first class. So I don't know if that helps, but all the prompts will be new. All of the examples will be new, starting over every year. It'll be different every single. It's my intention that it will be a class that you would take every year because it will be different and it will be fun. And we'll work on building our community of summer tapestry weavers. You can still take the first Summer of Tapestry. It's still open if you want to see what it's like. It's not an expensive class, and if you want to do your Summer of Tapestry in the spring, you certainly could do that. But yes, this year's Summer Tapestry will be completely different. It's a new class. I just don't want to have a new name for every single year because then people get super confused. They think, I don't know, they don't know what's happening. People are confused easily anyway, so it can be really hard to get your messaging right so that y'all are not confused. So if you are confused, let me know. I am also, while I'm working on this hat, changing the color of this background. So this is a different color than this one. It's a different blend. It's a little bit darker. And I'm going to go back and forth between the two blends for a bit. Yes, Marla, that's a great question. Marla's asking if you're not doing fringeless, but you double your warp. So say I chose, this is 26 cotton seam twine. Say I just warped a loom double. Could I then split it? Yes, absolutely. You can weave on it at like this, like 8 ends per inch, and you could weave on it at 16 ends per inch. I did that extensively in Change the Shed on the handbasket piece and the hot flash piece. So those were in 2020 and 2021. If you want to actually see me do that, go back and watch those episodes of Change the Shed. But yeah, that's a double set. I probably call it a double set most of the time. 16 EPI is pretty tricky, so think carefully about the sets that you want. Easiest, of course, to just double it. Doing other sets, I suppose, is definitely possible. But a little trickier than just the doubled thing. Let's see. Sometimes you do want to make sure you get enough weft right at that turn that it will fill this gap that I'm making there. Deb, thanks. Deb says, Summer of Tapestry was my intro to Rebecca's classes. It was a blast. No stress, just fun, which is exactly what I want that class to do. So hooray. I'm really interested in having people enjoy what they're doing. I think we're better artists if we actually enjoy what we're making and it has some relevance to our lives in some way. So that is the goal of Summer of Tapestry. I have lots of classes about technique and design and all of that stuff that are focused on learning those skills. Summer of Tapestry, of course, uses those skills, but it's mostly about finding your own voice, I guess I would say. I feel like this tapestry is getting slightly wider. Need to be careful. Okay. All right, let's put in the outline for the next little bit of the hat. Yes, Kathleen asks, will Summer of Tapestry also be different from the Just Discovery box? Yes, it will be different. I think doing both of them would be a lot of fun. Discovery box is focused on techniques. Each of the boxes is built around a particular technique and a colorway. And the Summer of Tapestry is quite different. It's all about finding your own voice. You use whatever you want in Summer of Tapestry, whatever yarn you have, whatever thoughts you have, whatever. It's all, I'm giving you prompts to direct you, and the people in the class will chat about things, but Sorry, I cannot weave and talk at the same time. Tapestry box is about a particular technique, using it well with a particular set of yarns. So yes, I will keep doing both of them. And I think doing both of them would be a lot of fun, but that's up to you. The Summer of Tapestry, the price of the Summer of Tapestry is quite a lot lower than the Tapestry Discovery box. Mostly because it doesn't come with a kit. So most of what the cost of the Discovery box is the yarn. Okay, we're back to this violet color. What color is this? This is Eggplant 4. Eggplant 4. I like it, Jennifer. Summer of Tapestry says, super fun, a spark plug for weaving practice. That's awesome. All right, how am I going to do this next shape? Let's make it, this hat's going to make a little curve at the top, like a little slouchy bit. So let's make this, maybe I will make it build up on this right side. Trying to think of how it would look if it was an actual hat. I will probably need to go to one weft here soon. All right, let's make it look like that. just jumping up on the back. What happens if I make this line a little bit thicker right there? That looks like a mess, doesn't it? Don't worry, it won't look like that forever. I can tell, Robin says the hat looks great. I can tell the hat will again be my favorite part of this whole, this was supposed to be hair on this little gnome, and it looks like wings. And I also had some value issues here in the part. If I were my own student, I would recommend to me to look at value a little more carefully when I chose the colors, and to not weave this piece at such a coarse set. If I want this size, I should have made it like 10 ends per inch, or maybe 12 with this much detail. Or of course I could have simplified the design. Let's see. Well, that slit's getting a little long, but maybe that'll be the last. I don't know. McKenna asked, how am I going to finish the back? Like this. This is the other gnome tapestry. So finishing. This yarn is fairly amenable to, it holds pretty well in terms of splicing and stuff. I do splice, and sometimes I do cut the splices off. If I haven't spliced, I will just needle the ends in a little bit under a couple of weft picks. And then of course, it's very important in finishing. I like to wet finish things. You can see that little bit of extra. Made it a little bit wider there. I don't know if I'm gonna like that, but wet finishing. So in this case, I steam. I have a steamer that I really like. You can use an iron. Talk about finishing, especially in the warp and weft class, a lot. And I've gotten a lot of questions in the design class about finishing lately, so I may be doing a special finishing class. Yeah, that's a good question, Mary. How long is too long for a slit on a piece of this size and set? To be honest, on a piece like this, like here you can even see I didn't stitch this. This is about a 1/2 inch, I think. It's not 3/8 of an inch maybe. This slit, it would probably be fine if I left this slit also, because this little tapestry, unless I just pin it to the wall as part of my tapestry diary, which might be what happens to this one, but if I mounted it, or I mounted these two little ones together, it will be supported on something, and the slits, it doesn't matter that much on a tiny piece like this. On a larger piece, like the one behind me on the wall, which is hanging sideways from the way I wove it. Actually, there's so much hatching in that piece, there's almost no slits, but you would want to stitch the slits if they're longer than a 1/2 inch at most, because they'll gape open if it's hanging sideways. Yeah, I do like the steamer I have is a Jiffy steamer. Honestly, I have a colleague who uses a $40 steamer she got at Walmart, so I don't think it's that important that you buy. You don't have to buy a steamer at all. You can use a steam iron. You don't need a lot of fancy equipment for tapestry. I don't want you to think that you have to go and buy a Jiffy steamer, especially if you're doing small things. So like in the fringeless class, Sarah teaches, she shows you what she does with her small tapestries. Actually, I think she does it with her large tapestries. She gives them a bath. So there's this fun video in the fringeless class where she's dunking some little tapestries in a bowl of water and finishing them from there. So it's definitely, there are many ways to do it, and you don't have to have expensive equipment. You'll see there's a float right there. I bet even you can see that. I needed to go under this one. It can take some practice to be able to see floats. Especially if they're on the back. If you're weaving from the back so the front is on the other side, it's really easy especially when you're new and your fingers aren't used to the skills you need yet, to miss a warp and get a float that ends up on the front. The good thing is that floats are easy to fix. They're easy to fix if they're in an area that's not too small and complicated. If I made a float in this big blue area, it would be very easy to fix. Not quite as easy to fix if it's in something like, complicated. There's videos about how to fix floats in Warp and Weft, so if you're in that class, part 3 is your troubleshooting section. I'm so tempted. I do this. I ran out of yarn. I really want to do a couple more sequences, but I'm so tempted to just end this color because I ran out of yarn. That would be the lazy thing to do. Honestly, it might not make a difference. All right. I will add a little more yarn. Actually, I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to splice these together. Will save me a little time and work. Wrong shed. Yes, for those of you who do want a really good piece of equipment, the Jiffy steamer. Shoot, my brain is not working today. I'm going to put a shed stick in here. Your brain also stops working. It can really help to just open the shed like that. Then you can figure out what you're doing. I am right now just splicing. What I was saying was it is nice to have good equipment. So if you can get something like the Jiffy steamer, it does make a difference. I'm not saying that the steam iron does quite as good a job. You have a lot more ability to judge where the steam is going if you have a steamer. And also, my steamer is a lot hotter than my steam iron. If you're doing all small tapestries, you can just wet block them, like Sarah shows in Fringeless. Okay, I switched back to the other color. I'm watching for where this little, I need to fill in this shape, to fill in here, and before I can weave the top of the hat, because we always weave from bottom to top. So that's what I'm doing. Well, I think about whether I'm going to sew this slit or not on the side. Yes. Jackie's asking about waste yarn. So here in a fringeless tapestry, you don't have waste yarn because this is the bottom of the work, and it's becomes the very bottom of the tapestry. So you don't need any waste in fringeless. But she's saying on page 120 of my book, say to use the same yarn for waste yarn. You can do what you want, is what I'll always say, Jackie. I believe that getting the tapestry set, the weft picks follow what come before. So if you've ever had trouble with weft tension, where your warps are getting wider or narrower as you're weaving, you'll know that the weft is the boss of the system. The weft is how much weft you put in makes a big difference. And so if you start out a piece, people who weave floor looms are often taught to use toilet paper. I've seen used, junk yarn, anything. And maybe it doesn't matter when you're weaving fabric, because a lot of times you're just going to cut off anything that doesn't look good anyway. But with a tapestry, when you start your tapestry, that's the beginning of your piece. And if the weft you're putting in is trying to follow what came before, say you use some completely different yarn as your waist, then the beginning of the tapestry is shaky. And Jackie's asking whether those 6 picks of warp and weft are enough. And maybe if you're doing a hem, that could be. I would say experiment. It depends on the materials you're using. It depends on what you're using for waist. It depends on what set you're doing. It depends on many, many things. So sample. But that's a maybe from me, Jackie. I just want to, you know what? I don't think I'm going to switch back to that other color. I think this is going to be fine. I just want to caution people that there is a reason why I recommend you use the same yarn for waist that you're going to use in the piece. I know that question comes from not wanting to, quote, waste yarn, but you can pull out the waste yarn and use it again on the next piece if you want to. Or buy a color that you really hate and just know this is always going to be my waist. Except then you have to look at it for the whole tapestry, so maybe don't do that. I was going to switch back to the other combination I had down here, but once I wove a little bit, I realized, oh, I think it's going to be fine. So I'm not going to. Oh, wow. How is it 11:09 already? Wow. Time flies. Hello from the French West Indies. I don't have any ability to translate that right now, and I don't speak French, but welcome. We'll translate it later. One great thing about Google Translate, I do often get comments in other languages, and I don't speak very many other languages. Let's just say I don't really speak any other languages except for some Spanish. So I do my best with Google Translate. But if I get it wrong, blame it on Google. Okay, we're getting close. can be a real optical illusion as to whether your piece is getting wider or not. I feel like this is definitely spreading wider, but I've actually been fooled by what's going on visually in the piece. It's not actually wider. Let's look. Measuring is the only foolproof way of almost 4 inches. Oh, it's not getting wider. Look at that. Wow. That's why I make myself measure, because if I think it's getting wider and then I try to pull it in and it's not getting wider, then I've made my piece dry in on purpose, which is dumb. Okay. Oh, thanks, Emily. She did a little translation. I don't know about the steamer. Jessica, ask in your class. I'll look it up. She asked what the brand of the steamer is. I don't know. It's whatever the sort of standard Jiffy steamer is, but yes. When we get to the end of the tapestry, this one I won't cut the wires, I won't cut the warp because it's a fringeless warp. It'll just get unraveled. Oh, that's a great clarification, Jackie. Thanks. Let me just see what I'm doing here a second. Okay, going back to this. Jackie's saying she doesn't mind using the same warp for the yarn for the weft. We're talking about waist. Doesn't mind using the special tapestry warp weft for the waist, but she's anxious that the warp as weft will distort the weaving in the same way. It's a good question. She's talking about, in a lot of my classes, I teach a hemmed header, which is especially for larger format pieces. And, or I guess anytime you want to hem, but I use some warp woven as weft. Actually, I do it in a lot of my small tapestries also. And the trick there is that the cotton, of course, doesn't act like the other weft. So it's a valid concern, Jackie. I don't have a really good answer for you, to be honest, right now off the top of my head. Been doing it for a very long time, but that's not really a great answer, is it? It's the way I do it. It's not a great answer. The purpose of the warp as weft in a hem is to give you something solid. I'm looking to see if I actually have a tapestry here that has it. This is just a little tapestry from the Tapestry Discovery Box where you can see there's a little bit of warp woven. It gives me a little white line there, sort of decorative. The purpose of it in a hemmed header is to have something firm to sew into, because the tapestry is going to hang from what you sew to that edge. So if I don't put something there that can support, there's a lot of ways to do it. Even as I say it, I'm like, well, you could do it this other way. So I do it because it gives me something firm to sew into. I use a sewing machine and I sew twill tape to it. But there's lots of other ways you could do it. You don't have to do it the way I do it. Tommy Scanlon does a lot of tapestries that don't have, I guess they do have hems. She does her hems a little differently than I do. She does use warp as weft, but she puts slits in it so it doesn't dry in, which I've been doing on my large tapestries recently. Okay, I've gone on about that long enough. That is a great question for the warp and weft class. So definitely follow that up in one of the online classes. We will talk about it some more. And I can give some examples of how different people do it and how I've done it and why I think this is better and why you might not want to do this. That kind of thing. Okay, I am clearly not going to get to the top of that hat today, which I was hoping to do because it's going to be real cute. All right. I have managed to blather on for the whole time. I guess that's the point. This one, see now before I walk away though, this is where I want to end this. So hang with me just a second. I'm going to end this so I know I'm done with this color. Otherwise, next time I come back, I will have forgotten and I'll have to make that decision all over again. And decision-making fatigue is something I'm trying to avoid. So I'm trying to be nice to my future self by leaving myself a clue. I have done tapestries where I have a loom full of sticky notes, or at least a few sticky notes. Before I walk away, I leave myself a sticky note. This is what you have to do next, is what the sticky note says. God, whoever invented sticky notes. Is probably a millionaire. Actually, I think 3M owns the patent, so probably 3M made all that money. Okay, now I know I'm doing that next. So, excellent. I think we are good with the little gnome lady, and I will finish that and I'll show it to you next time we're back. But yes, Jackie, absolutely. Basically stop beating myself up and worrying about it. Try lots of ways. Yes. So experiment. This is one of my big messages in all my teaching is that's a great idea. Why don't you try it? Sometimes they're not great ideas and hopefully I just say, well, this could lead to this. Why don't you try it? But trying things is the best way to know whether they're going to work or not, right? If you have an idea, it's worth trying. Maybe. I don't know. Some of them are worth trying. So yes, Jackie, definitely. Try a few different things. Try different headers. There's as many different headers as there are tapestry weavers. So just because I present only 2 different kinds of headers in my book, maybe 3, there's 4,000 other ways you could do the header. And it depends a lot on how you're going to mount and show the piece. What is your final goal? What do you want it to look like when it's done? That has a lot to say about how you do the initial beginning of the piece, how you warp the loom, what loom you use, how you're going to finish it, how you do the header, because if you do it one way, you might not be able to finish it the way you want. Anyway, I hope you all are having a really good week and doing some tapestry weaving. And I'll be back the beginning of April. And this gnome better be done. It'll be done. I'll show you the finished gnome in 2 weeks. How's that for a goal? I've been doing finishing on my Instagram page, which is Rebecca Mezoff Tapestry. If you're interested in seeing the massive pile of little tapestries, many of them I wove during Change the Shed. So if you want to see them getting finished, you should look at my Instagram, and I will continue to work on that pile. There's some big tapestries on that pile too, so those will be in the mix. Have a really great week. I'll see you all in a couple weeks.